Thank you, Leslie. I'm very flattered to be here tonight. My name is John. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I'm a codependent. If it's out there to be had, I probably got it. Um, you know, it's really funny. I've gotten to a point in my recovery. I guess I should back up a little bit here. My sobriety date is January 9th, 1994. And I had my last drink in the parking lot at the old Meadowlands Stadium parking lot before a playoff game between the Minnesota Vikings and my beloved New York Giants. After getting arrested for possession of cocaine and public intoxication by one of my many friends who were cops here in Morristown, New Jersey. And, my brothers, three of my older brothers all came to meet with me after my arrest. And, I got some tickets. We went to the game and, they all told me that I'm not that bad. Just some bad luck, all that sort of stuff. Pat me on the back. You're okay, this and that. And, we drank a bunch of Irish whiskey that day, and I don't think I got drunk, but I know that that's my last drink. And I've learned in AA that if you don't remember your last drink, you haven't had it yet. I'm very flattered to be here tonight. I really am. I went to Pavillon in October of 2000. I was 6.5 years sober at the time, and I was going through many life changes. And, I was sober, but I was experiencing emotions and dealing with things that I didn't know what to do with them. And a dear friend of mine up here had gone to Pavillon up in Canada. And she told me that, I should reach out. They got this awesome new facility down in Mill Spring. And, just call down and talk to one of the counselors. And, going away to a rehab when I was 6.5 years sober, didn't seem like a good idea, but it did seem like a good idea to get the hell away from this divorce I was going through, which was driving me crazy, and juggling all of the emotional turmoil that comes with that. And I called down to this guy, Pete Hotchkiss, answered the phone. And I love Pete. And Pete took me under his wing. I spoke with Pete, I think for about 3.5 hours that evening, sometime the month before I came down there. And he had me laughing, he had me crying, and he had me understanding that going through those kind of life changes, that maybe he and the staff at Pavillon could do something to help me deal with it. And my recovery up to that point, what got me into recovery was arrest for possession of cocaine and public intoxication. And it was on the job of all things. And I used to drink and drug with my coworkers and stuff. And, this is how we rolled back in those days. And I was never really in trouble. I got to work most days on time. I was productive. And, I've heard this expression, functioning alcoholic or drug addict. I don't know if I was functioning or not, but I was certainly fooling everybody around me very well. And, but most of all, I was fooling myself. I grew up in a very alcoholic home. My mother died a horrific alcoholic death in 1977. She was 46 years old and drunk, fell down the stairs, and, she conked her head and went into a coma and passed away 3 days later. And the only reason that that happened was because about 9 months prior, she had fallen down the stairs drunk prior, and she had shattered her coccyx bone at the base of her spine. So we were all worried about her spine and not the bump on her head. And, that was a game changer. I guess I should mention that I'm the fourth of 7 sons. And, each one of us is bigger and smarter than the next. And there's something special about being the fourth of 7 sons. I love the fact that my 3 older brothers, I got to watch them do things and learn from them. And, they would pound the hell out of me all the time. And I had my 3 younger brothers, coming to me for things and ratting me out all the time. So I had a nice balance going all the time growing up. And, when my mother passed away, that was a game changer. You know, growing up as a child, and I don't think I'm the only one, you have these ideas and pictures in your head as to the way your life is going to go. And, you know, for the most part, up to that point, mine was going very well. I mean, I loved sports. Um, I loved I loved having a neighborhood. You know, very active in the neighborhood. You know, that sort of thing. There was always games going on. Very outdoorsy. I mean, we were always outside doing something outside constantly. Growing up as a kid, and you know, you'd get around and maybe be meeting on the dead end, in the middle of our block in South Jersey, where I used to live, you know, and you'd be waiting for everybody to show up. And, you know, sometimes you talk about your aspirations and your dreams and what are you going to do and what do you want to be and all those sort of things. And, you know, in retrospect, I don't remember anybody ever saying, when I grow up, I want to be a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. I don't remember anybody saying, I want to be codependent and have everyone else be responsible for my happiness. I don't remember that. And I'm sure it never happened. Yet, you know, that's kind of exactly where I went. It's amazing when I think about it. Growing up in an alcoholic home, fighting for attention, you know, from my parents and then my brothers, etc. You know, I have a great understanding of how I got to where I am today and how I got into recovery. I also understand very much how I learned to medicate myself. And a lot of that stems from learning how to manipulate others and ultimately manipulating myself. You know, growing up, you know, I wanted for nothing, but I didn't have much and I didn't need much. You know, you give me a couple of sticks or something, I'll make something, you know, a bow and arrow, what, you know, didn't need much, you know, and I was a reasonably happy guy, happy kid growing up. I had a lot of good friends in my neighborhood and, you know, it occurred to me that if I wanted certain things, I had to do certain things. So I learned to manipulate. Something as basic as if I wanted the cereal that I wanted, I had to go shopping with my father, push one of the two grocery carts. I got to pick out the cereal I wanted, and then I'd have to help him put everything away. And if I put the groceries away that I picked out for myself, I could hide them and know where they were so my brothers wouldn't get them before I did. You know, I always wanted that prize at the bottom of the cereal box, you know, and I deserved it, damn it, because I went shopping and I did the work and you didn't. Or I mowed the lawn and you didn't, you know, whatever it was. And those were great tools. And, you know, I relished the role that, and if any of my brothers were here, and I should mention that I'm not the only one of the 7 boys that graces the rooms of AA or NA and OA, and we got a lot of A in my family. Let's put it that way. You know, they would tell you that I was my father's golden child. I was the golden boy. I could do no wrong, and I wouldn't hesitate to tell them if they were here either that I abused that role very much so. And you know, that used to help me get out of trouble. It used to help me get over. It used to help me get what I wanted. And that didn't work so well in the outside world, though. I learned that the hard way. Changing the way I felt. Well, I learned early on different ways to change the way I felt. I used to love spinning around in a damn circle and just getting lightheaded and laughing and doing it again. And, you know, nowadays, you know, if I go to a carnival and I see that goofy ass boat that rocks back and forth, you know, that thing that you can get on and just ride back. If I even look at that thing, I get nauseous. But boy, as a kid, I could do any of that stuff. I'm not sure what the hell that's all about, but I loved the idea of changing the way I felt. I loved the idea of taking risks. I loved the idea of, you know, we had an old house in South Jersey. It was 100 years old in 1969, and it had a lot of secret passageways and hidden rooms and this creepy ass attic and stuff. And I can remember one time thinking it'd be a good idea to go check out behind one of these walls, and I wasn't watching my step. And the next thing I knew, I went right through the ceiling and was landed on my parents' bed. that was exciting. That was a lot of fun. I always loved adventures. You know, I have no regrets about my past as a child, but I did slowly learn after my mother passed away that I felt like life was unfair. I felt like I had been cheated. Um, Being the oldest one home when my mother passed away, I was thrown into this role of a parent figure to my three younger brothers. And I didn't want that, but I didn't really have much of a choice. Both my parents were alcoholic. My father's drinking after my mom passed away uh, really took off. He lost his job locally to his drinking. Um, I don't even know if all my brothers know that or not. Not sure why I'm thinking of that now, but he wound up taking work on the West Coast out in Silicon Valley, and I wound up raising my three younger brothers. And boy, you want to talk about resentments. And I felt like I had been cheated. I just really did. And I found ways to deal with that, and alcohol, cocaine, marijuana, it didn't matter. Uh, I love playing rugby, and I loved all the drinking and drugging that I did with playing rugby in college. And I just went to a local college where, I lasted at Drew University for 3 semesters. My first semester of college, I took 12 credits and I managed to get 6 of them. My second semester at Drew University, I took 6 credits and I managed to get 3. My third semester down there, I took 1 course and I got a goose egg. I don't even think I ever went to 1 class. Clearly, I majored in drugs and alcohol, and it's too bad they didn't give grades out for that. I really, looking back, I certainly made myself out to be quite the victim. And I would tell anybody around me, if you had been through what I've been through, and poor me, and, never really seeing just how fortunate I was to, have this opportunity to, be a good big brother to my 3 younger siblings, and, help my father out, et cetera. And, I took a job working as a messenger with this law firm, and, paid decent money. And I liked the proximity to my home, and I got to drive down to Newark, which was one of my cities where I could cop and whatnot. And it worked out very well. I could go down to Newark every day with a mail run, and stop down on the other side of the tracks and get what I needed. And I became a master being able to roll joints while steering my old beat up jalopy with my knees and stuff. And these were really important things back in the day. Being able to have a stereo and listen to music, and having no concept of a future, because I had really found myself to be this victim. And I'm not big on war stories. I'm just not. I love recovery, and my bottom came on December 27th, 1993. That's when I got arrested in the lobby of my building in front of my boss. It seemed so horrible at the time. And looking back, Detective Jeff Paul, that guy, and I see him at the gym all the time. And, that was 20 something years. I guess that was over 27 years ago. And I see him still today, and he can't believe that I'm still sober. And looking back, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because while, I would overshoot the mark every once in a while. And, shortly after that arrest, I kind of had this idea in my mind that, I really wasn't that bad. My problem was that I got caught. I just got to be smarter next time. And while I was in a lot of trouble with the law, I was in a real lot of trouble at home. I had taken this gal hostage, my first wife. I was struggling with drinking and drugging, and she used to drink with me and occasionally partake with me with cocaine and weed and stuff. And I decided that if I got married, that would take care of everything. And I'm happy to say I've made all my proper amends to my first wife, but that divorce with her was horrendous. I don't know about anybody else, but I've always felt that I was terminally unique, but I never wanted to be one of those less than 1% that actually goes to trial in their divorce. And there I was, unbelievable. The waste of money, the waste of time, etc. And hell hath no fury like my ex-wife being scorned, and she had a terrible attorney, and they did everything they could to try and hurt me and defame me, etc. And um, it's funny because my attorney, who I work for from my firm, being the plaintiff, I got to lay everything out before they did in the trial. And I just simply owned the fact that I was a recovering alcoholic and drug addict um, in our first time in court, and kind of took all that thunder away from him. But it was funny because while going through the divorce process, and I think we were on the third of our 4 judges in my divorce, which lasted almost 4 years, which was brutal. I went down to Pavillon while going through the divorce. And I remember going to pick up our daughter for a visit the last time before coming down to Mill Springs. And my future ex-wife said, "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" And I said, "Sure." We went outside and she said, "I'm so sorry to hear about your relapse." I said, "My relapse? What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, my attorney told me you're going to some rehab. I'm really sorry about your relapse." I said, "I didn't have a relapse." I said, "I've just decided that I'm going to take my recovery to another level and, do something for myself." I said, "All this, chaos and drama is driving me crazy." And deep beneath that was, the death of a marriage that, already feeling less than and not good enough. There was a lot in my head that, I was a failure. And, I really, there's some of the stuff that I talk with Pete Hotchkiss about, and I love that I invested in myself by going down to Pavillon. And, if I'm sitting in Pavillon right now, I don't know if that's foremost on my mind or not, but looking back now, I can tell you it takes a lot of courage to make a decision, to make a change like that. And there are no coincidences. At the meeting this morning, Philip was talking about courage and fear. And, I love the timing of all this. Life isn't fair. And I shared this morning. It's a good thing life isn't fair, because if it was, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that wouldn't be here now. I love the way that God works in my life. Going to Pavillon and getting to understand that God does not make garbage, and God did not save me from drowning in an ocean of all my addictions just to beat me up on the beach of sobriety. I believe that's true for me. I was given this additional chance to, find a better path and, become the man I always wanted to be. In the past, I used to morph and mold into whatever I needed to be or whoever I needed to be to fit into whatever the situation called for, to get what I wanted. And I want for nothing these days. I just kind of like being me. It's an incredible thing to say, know, and understand today. Digging deep, it's scary stuff. Getting back to the trial, though, I can remember after my 28-day stay at Pavillon, I came back and I really had a really fresh approach to life, a greater level of acceptance of everything, and a willingness to go to do whatever it took to become the man I wanted to be. And I learned about how much power I gave other people, places, and things, even in recovery. It was incredible. And I can remember getting hauled into court because my ex thought it'd be a good idea to make sure that judge knew I had a relapse, even though I hadn't. So the good folks down there, Pavillon, sent a fax to the court. And back in those days, not like today where you can send an email. I mean, you had those fax machines when that paper would just come off really slow. And I can remember watching my future ex and her attorney just sitting there reading each line off that thing as it came off the fax machine, and how disappointed they were when the judge read that, Jonathan Daniels has successfully completed our 4-week no, our 4-week program, our 28-day program here at Pavilion, and his 6.5 years of sobriety remain intact. Can you imagine someone being disappointed that you didn't have relapse? I'll tell you, that's the best money I ever spent in my life. That look on their faces, I love that. I'm not so sure that's a healthy thing, but hey, that's the truth. Recovery. I mean, who the hell, wants to admit complete defeat? I can remember the idea that, I didn't know how to stop drinking when I started, because it always led to making bad decisions. I could never make a good decision once I drank or drugged. I could never, and one always led to the other. It didn't matter. And I'd find myself waking up in strange places and not knowing where I'd been, what I'd done, and not feeling real good about myself and swearing I'll never do this again. And that insanity of that vicious cycle. I never knew that there was a different way of doing things. I never knew that I could adapt and adopt a design for living that had worked for others. And I didn't have to experience that feeling of loneliness that beleaguered me for years. It really did. That feeling of not good enough and the shame, guilt, and remorse for my actions and my behavior in my past. It's incredible when I finally got a sponsor after a few months. And he said that I was going to help him as his sponsee more than he was going to help me. And I didn't understand that. I really didn't even understand what a sponsor was. I'd hear about it in meetings and whatnot. And I remember there was this one guy, he was younger than me, but he had 3 years sobriety. And when he shared in the meeting, I found myself hanging on his every word. I liked what he said. I identified with him more than, some of the old farts or, the geezers. And, I did stick mostly to men's meetings early on, which I think was really beneficial for me. But when Bill P shared, I'd always find myself going up and talking with him after meetings and whatnot. And after a while, these guys kept talking about the need for a sponsor. And I thought, well, I never went to any formal rehab at that point, in early sobriety. And so I went up to him and I said, hey, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah, sure. I said, how do you ask somebody to be a sponsor? And Bill says, are you asking me to be your sponsor? And I was kind of like, I didn't want to hurt the guy's feelings, because you got to realize something. At that point, I had no idea how codependent I was. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. And he said, great, okay, I'll be your sponsor. And Bill was a great sponsor. He and I had a lot in common. We also had a lot that we didn't have in common, but it took a while for me to figure that out. But to get into the steps with Bill was a real blessing. He was pretty hardcore about it. And we took a couple of months to go through 1, 2, 3. And then he called me out on that, that I was kind of stuck in what he called the Fred Astaire mode. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I said, well, what are you trying to say? He said, I think it's time for you to do a 5th step. And I said, well, okay, but shouldn't I do a 4-step first? And he said, exactly. So we set a date for my 5th step, which meant I had to get my ass busy with the 4th step. And we met a few times to discuss it. And I at this point, I had started going to a step meeting in nearby Cedar Knolls. And I made them, I stuck in the step book for a long time. And for me, that was very confusing. And I don't have any regrets about it. But I did I did my 4th step, and I took it very seriously. I would write down, I would get things in my head, and I'd have to write them down to put on my 4-step list. And, it was amazing. I'd have napkins next to the bed and things in the car, this and then, we set a date for my 5th step, and it was really, really incredible. I was nervous about the 5th step, and, I'd been to enough step meetings to hear about how amazing it was for some people. And, the 4 steps, what separates the men from the boys and all that stuff. It sounded kind of intimidating to me. But we got together, and I remember it was May 12th, 1995, that I did my first fifth step. And I remember calling him that afternoon and saying, Bill, I can't do it tonight. And because I was terrified, and things weren't going real well at home. And, I can't remember what day of the week that was. I believe it was a Friday, but the Tuesday before, I'd gone out to my men's meeting, and I got into a very heated argument with my future ex-wife. As I went off to leave for my men's meeting, as I was walking out the door, she turned to our young daughter and said, "See, he doesn't love us anymore. He's leaving us again." I mean, these things that she would do to try and hurt me were just unbelievable. But I remember calling Bill and explaining that I can't make it tonight, this and that. And Bill didn't mince his words. He said, "Either you get your ass down here to Pottersville and you do your fifth step, or don't call me no more." And the thought of not having Bill to call on anymore scared me way more than trying to appease my future wife's pleas of you don't love us because you keep leaving us. And it really pointed out to me, anything I put before my sobriety, I will lose. My sobriety needs to come before anything. And that whole experience then was huge for me. And to gain that understanding from a conversation that Bill and I had when I arrived at his home, prior to those 6-7 hours of sitting there laughing and crying and going through my 4-step with him, was incredible and very enlightening. It was a rainy, foggy night, and I never laughed and cried so much in my life. I remember that ride home from Pottersville to Mendham. I don't know if my tires ever touched the ground. It was incredible. After I did my fifth step on that day, it was only then, for me, that I felt like I had really had this connection with a power greater than myself. It was incredible. And I've heard of a few people over the years that have had a similar experience with, once they did their fifth step, that they had felt like they'd finally completed their second and third step. And that power and that freedom that came from that, after that fifth step, I knew without a doubt I was all in on my recovery. There was no turning back for me. I wanted this way of life, and nothing and no one was going to turn that away from me. I understood clearly that my recovery was mine, and it was up to me and no one else. My happiness and my unhappiness was all on me. The rest of the steps came very easily for me. They came naturally. I've been through the steps a number of times. I don't know how many. And, the most challenging things in my life have been in recovery. It wasn't prior to getting here. It's been since getting here. And, things like my youngest brother losing his only son to a horrific motorcycle accident. And being able to be there for him, and, being able to participate in life. I love my life today. I wouldn't trade my life for anyone's. I've had incredible opportunities given to me because I'm sober. I've done a lot of traveling. I've been given incredible responsibilities. I am trusted in ways that I never dreamed that anyone could trust me. I have an incredible partner today. I remarried, and I'm very fond of saying that Tanya is the most amazing woman I've ever met. She just has terrible taste in men. I never knew that my life could be as enjoyable as it is today. I shared something with the group this morning that I don't know if anyone remembers Skip, who used to be a counselor at Pavillon. Skip was awesome, and Skip always had a way of just knowing how to say the right thing at the right time, a lot like Pete Hotchkiss. But Skip was the one that said he never had a bad day, just some days were better than others. And I always thought, wow, man, I want what that guy has. And Pete Hotchkiss, if you ever listen to his 4 CDs that he had put out a number of years back, at the beginning of Pete's CDs, when he's doing his talk on the steps, he talks about those prerequisites, those two prerequisites. There's only two. You have to want what we have, and you have to be willing to go to any length to get it. And I thought about, it can be all very confusing at times because, a lot of times I go to AA meetings and they say, don't judge other people. And I think, oh my God, don't judge other people. You just told me that I have to want what you have. How am I supposed to know that you have what I want if I'm not judging you? I love that I understand the value that comes from questioning things and that the answer is right in front of me anyway. I love not taking myself so seriously these days. I really do believe that life is meant to be enjoyed, and it's up to me to find that path. My primary sponsor after Bill was a guy named Hap, Howard Berrien. Hap was amazing. Hap was an incredible military man who was permanently injured, and he had this facial deformity that like half his face was always smiling, the other half was always frowning. And I love this guy, and he just had this incredible way of bringing me right to recovery every time. Where's the value? Where's the value in your actions? Where's God in all of this? He just had this amazing way about him. He also could do how to piss me off to get me to see things too. I remember the first time he said to me, give it to God, it's his anyway. And I just wanted to slap him. But this is the way, a love-hate relationship goes. I don't think anybody's ever doing me a favor by tap dancing around an issue that's at hand. I love just cutting right to the chase. And, walking on eggshells never did anybody any good. Telling somebody that everything's going to be okay, or it's important to like get down and get dirty into what's going on. And I will say that Pavillon taught me that. My experience at Pavillon, they busted me down to almost a bare-ass naked young man and built me back up, even though I'd been in recovery for about 6.5 years. And I love that experience. I really do. And, my uncle said, don't let that experience that you had at that rehab go to your head. There's a tendency where you might want to think that you're better than other people in AA. Now, my uncle was a legacy in AA in the Chambersburg, Pennsylvania area, and his wife is a legacy in Al-Anon, and she's still speaks all over the world and stuff, and she's been tremendous in my Al-Anon experience. But my uncle, as I was traveling back north, I stopped through and he wanted to know about the experience at Pavillon. And one of the things that really was profound for me was when we learned about family of origin. And that family of origin was pretty intense for me and very revealing about how my behavior had become what it had. And when I started mentioning this, my uncle told me to stop. I don't go any further. I don't want to hear about it. I can't go there. My uncle could never go to that place of family of origin that I was able to, and that's his choice. But that became a point for him that we were very close up to that point, but for some reason after that, we drifted apart because he felt that he could not look at some of those things from his family growing up, which was my family before, but I certainly didn't have the interaction with them that he did. And to this day, I'm not sure what those things were. He took them to his grave. I don't have those secrets. The benefit of a sponsor for me is those secrets I can share with my sponsor, and maybe with a group if it's appropriate, no matter what it is. But having a good sponsor is so valuable with, those darker secrets, those for me, it was a lot of those family of origin sicknesses and encounters and events. The value of a good sponsor, you can't put it in. I mean, I can't say enough about how important having a sponsor is in guiding me through this design for living and how to tap into it, how to constantly review my day on a 10-step review every day, the way I learned at Pavillon, to immediately recognize when the bully inside of me wants to come out or the scared child is reaping his ugly head, and being able to say, whoa, what's really going on here? I'm not perfect at it. I'm not by a long shot, but I've certainly gotten much better. Change is a process, not an event. I understand that today. I don't know about anybody else, man, but I'd hear things at meetings. I'd be like, I want that. I want that right now. I want that. I want that. I want it now. I want it now. Good news, bad news. Bad news is no one's coming to save me. The good news is I can save myself. The better news is I don't have to do it alone. For me, there's a fellowship. I choose AA, Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And there's the design for living there that's worked for untold numbers of people. And all I have to do is participate. And in order to recover, I need to participate in my own recovery. In order to continue to recover, I need to continue to participate in my own recovery. Recovery is for people who want it. Recovery is not for people who need it. If recovery was for people who needed it, they would be holding hourly meetings in stadiums and arenas all around the world and turning people away. I truly believe that I am one of the chosen ones. I've been given a do-over. We always had do-overs as a kid. Miss that ball, do-over. I love my do-over. And I'm going to make the most of my do-over. And it's up to me to take these tools and utilize them, incorporate them into my home life, my business life, and most importantly for me, my friends in recovery. My recovery is the most important part of my life. If I don't make my recovery my top priority, nothing else matters. I'll lose it. I'll lose it. I love the fact that early this morning, my wife, seeing I was a little bit off, God bless her, said, don't you have a meeting at 10? I love my life today, and I love my wife today. I'm actually okay with myself these days too, which is remarkable. Back in the day, they used to take photos of the classes, and I understand they took those down. And everybody got to write by their name, put a little something that they learned. And I still remember what I wrote next to mine. Never knew I could be comfortable in my own skin. Thank you, Pavillon. That's incredible. And if I'm not comfortable in my skin, it means I got some work to do, or there's a lesson to be learned. Sometimes it's the same thing. I could go on. I could definitely go on, but I love my life. There's 2 rehabs that I have I've been to a lot of rehabs, speaking or interacting or taking friends there or whatever it is. Pavillon and this other place up here in northwestern New Jersey, a place called Alina Lodge. There are no better facilities than these 2. To be in a facility like Pavillon, I mean, unbelievable what a great gift that is for me, and what a great gift it is for anyone else. Those tools are clearly described and explained there, and shame on me if I don't take advantage of it. So while my uncle explained to me early on in recovery, boy, we've been waiting for you. We've had a seat here for you. And remember, there's no shame in admitting you have a problem, but it's a shame if you don't do something about it. I'll keep coming. Thank you very much.